Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez stood at the observation deck of Coalition Defense Station Meridian and watched the stars beyond the massive viewport. The space station spun slowly in orbit around New Terra, creating artificial gravity that made the deck feel solid under her boots. Maya checked her watch and saw that the monthly interspecies marksmanship evaluation would begin in 30 minutes. She had been running these tests for 2 years now, but today felt different. The station hummed with activity as 12 different alien species prepared for the evaluation. Maya could hear their voices echoing through the corridors, speaking in languages that sounded like music, grinding rocks or electronic signals. Each species brought their best marksmen to prove their worth to the Galactic Defense Alliance. For most of them, this was just another routine test. For Maya, it was something much more important. She walked down the main corridor toward the testing facility and past groups of alien soldiers. The insectoid Zephyrians clicked their mandibles as they discussed target acquisition strategies. Their compound eyes could track multiple moving objects at once, giving them a natural advantage that human eyes could never match. Maya nodded politely as she passed them, and they barely acknowledged her presence. Near the weapons storage area, 3 crystalline helix beings stood perfectly still while light patterns flowed across their transparent bodies. Maya knew they were calculating wind resistance and atmospheric density for their shots. The helix could process mathematical equations faster than any computer, turning marksmanship into a precise science. When Maya walked by, they briefly pulsed with a dull orange light, which she had learned meant they found something amusing. The gaseous nebular entities floated near the ceiling in their containment suits. They could control air currents and pressure systems, making them nearly impossible to compete against in atmospheric conditions. One of them descended to Maya's level and spoke through its translation device in a voice that sounded like wind through trees. "Human instructor, we hope today's evaluation provides adequate challenge for our capabilities." Maya smiled and replied, "I'm sure you'll find it interesting." The nebular entity floated away without another word, leaving behind a faint smell of ozone. At the end of the corridor, Maya encountered the group she had been expecting. Sergeant Corvin Thrix stood with 5 other Vorthak warriors near the main entrance to the testing range. The Vorthak were reptilian humanoids who stood nearly 8 feet tall, with thick scales that looked like natural armor. Their yellow eyes could track fast-moving targets with predatory precision, and their reflexes were 3 times faster than human normal. Corvin noticed Maya approaching and turned to face her. His massive frame cast a shadow over her much smaller human form. "Ah, the human instructor arrives," he said in heavily accented standard language. "We are prepared to demonstrate superior Vorthak marksmanship once again." Maya looked up at the towering alien and kept her expression neutral. "The range is ready for all participants, Sergeant Thrix. I trust your team has reviewed the safety protocols." Corvin's mouth opened in what Maya recognized as a Vorthak laugh, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Safety protocols are for species that might actually miss their targets, Lieutenant Rodriguez. Vorthak warriors have dominated these evaluations for 300 years. Today will be no different." The other Vorthak warriors hissed their agreement. Maya had read their files and knew they were not exaggerating. The Vorthak military had the highest accuracy ratings in the Alliance, and Corvin himself held 17 marksmanship records. His bio-integrated targeting system could lock onto targets that human eyes could not even detect. "Of course," Maya said simply. "If you'll follow me, we can begin the briefing." She led the group into the main testing facility, a vast chamber with a domed ceiling that displayed real-time holographic environments. The range could simulate any combat situation, from urban warfare to deep spaceboarding actions. Today's evaluation would test marksmanship skills across 5 different scenarios, each more challenging than the last. Maya stepped onto the central platform and activated the briefing system. Holographic displays appeared around the chamber, showing target specifications and scoring criteria. Representatives from all 12 species gathered in a semicircle around her, their various forms creating an impressive display of galactic diversity. "Welcome to the monthly Alliance marksmanship evaluation," Maya began. "Each participant will Face 5 scenarios designed to test accuracy, adaptability, and tactical thinking. The first phase involves stationary targets at 500 meters. The second phase introduces moving targets at 800 meters. Phase 3 adds environmental obstacles at 1,000 meters. Phase 4 combines moving targets with adverse weather conditions. The final phase will test your abilities under maximum stress conditions at 1,200 meters. A Zephyrian warrior raised one of its forearms. Will scoring account for species-specific advantages? Maya shook her head. All participants are scored by the same standards. The Alliance believes that combat situations do not adjust for biological differences. This caused some discussion among the alien groups. The Helix beings pulsed with patterns that indicated calculation, while the nebular entities whispered among themselves in sounds like distant thunder. Corvin crossed his massive arms and looked down at Maya with obvious amusement. "Human instructor," Corvin said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Will you be participating in today's evaluation?" Maya paused for a moment before answering. "Yes, I'll be taking part as the human representative." This announcement caused more discussion among the alien species. Maya could see them exchanging glances and making quiet comments in their native languages. The general sentiment was clear. They viewed her participation as either ceremonial or foolishly optimistic. Corvin's laugh rumbled through the chamber again. "Excellent. It will be educational to observe human marksmanship techniques. Perhaps we can offer suggestions for improvement afterward." Several other species joined in with their own versions of laughter. The Zephyrians clicked rapidly. The Helix flashed bright colors and the nebular entities created small whirlwinds in their containment suits. Maya noticed that not all the species were laughing, though. The feline catalans and the plant-like. Verdani remained quiet, watching the interaction with what seemed like curiosity rather than amusement. Maya waited for the laughter to die down before continuing. Participants will use their preferred weapon systems, with standard Alliance ammunition. Targeting data will be recorded and analyzed for accuracy, speed, and tactical efficiency. Are there any questions about the evaluation procedures? A nebular entity spoke up. "What happens if someone achieves perfect scores in all 5 phases?" Maya smiled slightly. "That's never happened before, but I suppose we'd have to create new evaluation standards." Corvin snorted with amusement. "The question is purely theoretical. Perfect scores require capabilities that exceed normal biological limitations." "Perhaps," Maya said quietly. She began assigning firing positions to each participant. The range had 12 stations, each equipped with advanced targeting systems and environmental controls. Maya made sure to place herself at Station 7, right in the middle where everyone could observe her performance. She wanted all the alien species to have a clear view of what would happen next. As the participants moved to their assigned positions, Maya walked to the weapons storage area and selected her rifle. She chose a standard M2070 plasma rifle, the same model used by human military forces across the galaxy. Compared to the bio-integrated systems and energy manipulation devices the other species carried, her weapon looked almost primitive. Corvin noticed her selection and shook his massive head. "Standard issue equipment for a standard performance, I assume." Maya checked her rifle's settings and calibration with methodical precision. "We'll see," she said without looking up. The testing chamber began its transformation as holographic systems activated. The walls disappeared, replaced by a realistic outdoor environment with rolling hills and scattered obstacles. Targets appeared at the 500-meter mark, simple circular plates that would register hits with bright flashes of light. Maya took her position at Station 7 and looked down the range toward her targets. She could feel the attention of all the alien species focused on her, waiting to see how the human instructor would perform against their superior abilities. In a few minutes, they would have their answer. Maya watched as the alien representatives took their positions along the firing line. Each species had brought their finest marksmen, and the confidence in their movements showed years of training and natural advantages that humans simply did not possess. She adjusted her grip on the M2070 plasma rifle and observed the competition she would face. At Station 1, Commander Zix of the Zephyrian forces moved with insect-like precision. His forearms allowed him to steady his weapon while simultaneously operating targeting computers and environmental sensors. The compound eyes that covered half his head tracked multiple points simultaneously, giving him awareness that no human could match. Maya had seen Zephyrians identify and engage 12 separate targets in the time it took most species to find one. The Helix representative at Station 3 stood motionless as calculation patterns flowed across her crystalline body. Lieutenant Vera 9 could process ballistic trajectories faster than the range computers, accounting for variables that other species never considered. Her weapon appeared to be made of the same crystal material as her body, creating a perfect fusion between shooter and tool that eliminated mechanical error. Corvin Thrix dominated Station 5 with his massive presence. The Vorthak sergeant's weapon was integrated directly into his nervous system, making targeting as natural as looking at something. His reptilian eyes had evolved for hunting, with depth perception that could judge distances to the centimeter, at ranges beyond normal visibility. Maya knew that Corvin had never scored below 98% accuracy in any recorded evaluation. The other species filled the remaining stations with equal confidence. The gaseous nebular entity at Station 9 floated in his containment suit, while his weapon systems responded to thought commands transmitted through bioelectric fields. The feline Catalan at Station 11 moved with predatory grace, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to track targets that appeared and disappeared in milliseconds. Maya noticed how the alien representatives positioned themselves for optimal observation of each other's performance. This was as much about gathering intelligence on allied capabilities as it was about demonstrating individual skills. Each species wanted to know exactly what their partners could accomplish in combat situations. The holographic environment completed its initialization, creating a perfect replica of the contested world of Kepler Prime. Rolling grasslands stretched toward distant mountains under a pale orange sky. The 500-meter targets appeared as metallic discs mounted on posts, each one designed to flash bright blue when struck accurately and red when hit outside the scoring zones. Participants prepare for Phase 1 evaluation, Maya announced through the communication system. You will have 60 seconds to engage 5 targets at 500 meters. Scoring will be displayed in real time. Commander Zix, you may begin when ready. The Zephyrian warrior moved with mechanical efficiency. His primary arm steadied the weapon while his secondary arms operated the targeting system. The compound eyes tracked all 5 targets simultaneously, calculating optimal firing sequence. His shots came in rapid succession, each plasma bolt, striking center mass with mathematical precision. 5 blue flashes indicated perfect scores. The display showed 100% accuracy with a completion time of 8 seconds. Excellent performance, Commander Zix, Maya said. The other alien representatives made approving sounds in their various languages. This was the standard they expected from Alliance evaluation. Lieutenant Vera 9 stepped forward at Station 3. The Helix being's crystalline form pulsed with calculation patterns as she analyzed atmospheric conditions, target specifications, and weapon performance parameters. Her shots followed mathematical perfection, each bolt following an identical trajectory adjusted only for the slight differences in target position. 5 blue flashes in 7 seconds with perfect center mass hits. Outstanding precision, Lieutenant. Vera 9, Maya acknowledged. She could see approval in the way the other species observed the performance. The Helix reputation for mathematical accuracy was well-deserved. Station by station, the alien representatives demonstrated the capabilities that had made their species dominant forces in galactic military operations. The nebular entity controlled atmospheric pressure to create perfect shooting conditions, achieving 5 blue flashes in 9 seconds. The Catalan's enhanced reflexes allowed her to engage targets in a blur of motion that was almost too fast to follow. When Corvin's turn arrived, he stepped forward with the confidence of someone who had never failed at anything. The massive Vorthak warrior raised his bio-integrated weapon and surveyed the targets with predatory focus. His yellow eyes locked onto the first target, and Maya could see the targeting system activating as neural connections established firing solutions. Corvin's first shot struck the target dead center with such force that the holographic disc shattered completely before reforming. His second shot followed immediately, creating a hole that went completely through the target backing. The third shot hit with surgical precision, followed by the fourth and fifth in a display of marksmanship that exceeded even the high standards of the evaluation. But Corvin was not finished. His final shot was fired with such accuracy that it struck the exact center of the target's scoring zone, a circle less than 2 centimeters across at 500 meters. The display registered not just a perfect hit, but a precision score that exceeded the normal parameters. "Remarkable shooting, Sergeant Thrix," Maya said. The other alien representatives made sounds of approval and respect. Several species had natural advantages over humans, but the Vorthak combination of predatory instincts and bio-integrated technology created marksmen that were nearly impossible to match. Corvin lowered his weapon and turned toward Maya with obvious satisfaction. 300 years of Vorthak dominance in Alliance marksmanship evaluations, Lieutenant Rodriguez. Our hunting ancestors developed skills that your species cannot hope to match. Maya nodded politely. Your performance speaks for itself, Sergeant. The remaining alien representatives completed their demonstrations with equally impressive results. Each species showcased the natural advantages that had made them valuable members of the Alliance military structure. Enhanced senses, superior reflexes, biological adaptations, and advanced technology combined to create marksmanship capabilities that far exceeded baseline human potential. When the last alien finished firing, attention turned to Station 7, where Maya waited with her standard-issue rifle. The conversation among the alien groups became more animated as they discussed what they expected to see from the human representative. Maya could understand enough of their languages to know that most considered her participation a courtesy rather than a genuine competition. Corvin crossed his massive arms and addressed Maya directly. Human instructor, before you begin, perhaps you would like some advice on proper targeting techniques. Vorthak military doctrine includes training methods that might help compensate for your species' natural limitations. Maya looked up at the towering alien warrior and kept her expression neutral. Thank you for the offer, Sergeant, but I'll use standard human techniques. This comment caused some discussion among the alien groups. The Zephyrians clicked their mandibles in what Maya recognized as amusement. The Helix beings pulsed with colors that indicated they found something entertaining. Even the normally serious Catalans seemed to be suppressing what passed for laughter in their species. Of course, Corvin continued, we understand that humans must work within their biological constraints. Perhaps focusing on support roles rather than direct combat positions would better suit your capabilities. Maya stepped up to the firing line and raised her rifle. The weapon felt familiar in her hands after years of training and countless hours on shooting ranges across human space. She looked down the scope toward the targets at 500 meters and took a deep breath. Human marksmanship techniques emphasize adaptability over raw capability, she said without lowering her rifle. We tend to focus on making the most of what we have rather than relying on natural advantages. Corvin's laugh rumbled through the chamber. Admirable philosophy, Lieutenant, but marksmanship requires precision that cannot be achieved through good intentions alone. Maya adjusted her stance and centered the first target in her scope. The holographic environment was perfect for shooting, with minimal wind and excellent visibility. The target appeared large and clearly defined at 500 meters. She controlled her breathing and began her firing sequence. Her first shot struck just outside the bullseye ring, registering as a near miss rather than a perfect hit. The target flashed red instead of blue, indicating a score that was acceptable but not exceptional. Maya moved to the second target without apparent concern about the miss. The alien representatives exchanged glances that clearly indicated their expectations had been confirmed. Corvin's deep voice carried easily across the range as he commented, to his aide in standard language that was loud enough for everyone to hear. The human demonstrates why their species remains in the junior categories of Alliance military operations, he said with obvious amusement. Perhaps they should focus on logistics and support functions rather than attempting combat roles. The holographic environment shifted as the range systems prepared for Phase 2 of the evaluation. The static grassland of Kepler Prime transformed into the urban ruins of Arcturus Station, complete with collapsed buildings, floating debris, and the distant glow of plasma fires. Maya watched as moving targets appeared throughout the simulated cityscape, following unpredictable paths through the wreckage at 800 meters from the firing line. Phase 2 will test your ability to engage moving targets in complex environments, Maya announced to the assembled alien representatives. Each participant will track and engage 5 different targets that move at varying speeds through urban terrain. You have 90 seconds to complete the sequence. Commander Zix moved to the firing line first, his compound eyes immediately tracking all 5 targets simultaneously. The Zephyrian's natural ability to process multiple visual inputs gave him an overwhelming advantage in scenarios like this. His forearms worked in perfect coordination, with primary arms controlling the weapon while secondary arms operated tracking systems and environmental sensors. The first target appeared as a small drone moving in an erratic pattern between damaged buildings. Zix's shot intercepted it perfectly, the plasma bolt striking center mass as the drone passed behind a collapsed wall. His second target moved faster, weaving through floating debris at maximum sensor range. But Zix compensated for speed and obstacles without apparent effort. Within 30 seconds, all 5 targets had been eliminated with precision that made the complex scenario look simple. The display registered perfect accuracy and timing that exceeded previous records for moving target engagement. Maya could see the approval in how the other alien species observed Zix's performance. "Exceptional work, Commander," Maya said. The Zephyrian tracking capabilities continued to set Alliance standards. Lieutenant Vera 9 stepped forward next, her crystalline body pulsing with calculation patterns as she analyzed target movement algorithms. The Helix approach to moving targets involved mathematical prediction rather than reactive tracking. She calculated trajectories several seconds in advance, firing at points where targets would be rather than where they currently appeared. Her first shot seemed to miss completely, striking empty air near a damaged building. 3 seconds later, a fast-moving target flew directly into the plasma bolt's path, creating a perfect interception. Her second shot followed the same pattern, with mathematical precision that turned prediction into certainty. Vera 9 completed the sequence in 42 seconds with accuracy that demonstrated the Helix reputation for turning warfare into applied mathematics. Each shot had been calculated to meet targets at optimal interception points, eliminating guesswork and reaction time from the equation. The other alien representatives continued their demonstrations with equally impressive results. The nebular entity manipulated air currents to slow down fast-moving targets, making them easier to track and engage. The Catalan used enhanced reflexes to engage targets that moved too quickly for most species to follow. When Corvin's turn arrived, he approached the firing line with the confidence of a natural predator. His yellow eyes locked onto the movement patterns immediately, tracking multiple targets with the focus that had made Vorthak warriors legendary throughout the galaxy. The bio-integrated targeting system responded to his neural commands faster than conscious thought. Corvin's first shot eliminated a target that was moving in a corkscrew pattern through dense debris. The plasma bolt curved slightly in flight, following a trajectory that compensated for the target's evasive maneuvers. His second shot struck a target that was partially concealed behind cover, hitting it during the brief moment when a vital component was exposed. The massive Vorthak warrior eliminated all 5 targets in 28 seconds, setting a new record for the evaluation. His final shot was particularly impressive, striking a target that was moving at maximum speed while partially obscured by electromagnetic interference from the simulated plasma fires. "Outstanding performance, Sergeant Thrix," Maya acknowledged. "Your hunting instincts continue to prove their value in combat scenarios." Corvin nodded with satisfaction and turned to address the group. Vorthak warriors evolved to track prey that could outrun, outhide, and outmaneuver our ancestors. Modern warfare simply provides new prey to hunt. The alien representatives completed their demonstrations with results that reinforced their reputations for military excellence. Each species had achieved accuracy rates above 90%. with completion times that demonstrated their natural advantages in complex targeting scenarios. Maya stepped up to the firing line as the attention of all 12 species focused on her performance. The moving targets appeared throughout the urban environment, following the same unpredictable patterns that had challenged the alien marksman. She raised her M2070 rifle and observed the targets through her scope. Her first shot missed completely, striking a building wall several meters away from the intended target. The target continued its movement pattern unaffected while the display registered a complete miss. Maya tracked to the second target and fired again, this time striking the drone but outside the scoring zone for a low-value hit. Corvin's rumbling laugh carried across the range as he observed Maya's performance. The human demonstrates the limitations of unenhanced sensory systems, he announced to his aide in standard that everyone could hear. Moving targets require reflexes that baseline biology cannot provide. Maya's third shot achieved a marginal hit on a slow-moving target, while her fourth shot missed entirely as she failed to compensate for the target's speed. Her fifth and final shot struck closer to center mass but still registered as a basic hit rather than a precision score. The display showed Maya's results as 42% accuracy with a completion time of 78 seconds. It was a significant decline from her already mediocre performance in Phase 1, confirming the alien representative's assessment of human capabilities. Perhaps the human instructor would benefit from additional training with Vorthak methods, Corvin suggested with obvious amusement. Our techniques for tracking fast-moving prey might help compensate for natural disadvantages. The Helix representative pulsed with calculation patterns that Maya recognized as the equivalent of analytical amusement. Human reaction times appear insufficient for modern combat requirements, Vera 9 stated in her precise electronic voice. Mathematical analysis suggests fundamental limitations in neural processing speed. Maya nodded politely and lowered her rifle. Thank you for the observations. Human techniques emphasize different approaches to tactical challenges. Of course, Corvin replied with condescending patience. All species must work within their biological constraints. Perhaps human forces should focus on roles that do not require precision marksmanship. The break between phases gave Maya time to observe how the alien representatives interacted with each other. The species with the highest scores received respect and attention from the others, while those with lower performance were politely ignored. Maya noticed that several aliens were already discussing her results in their native languages, making assessments about human military value. Commander Zix approached Maya during the break, his compound eyes studying her with insect curiosity. Human instructor, Zephyrian military doctrine includes support roles that might better suit your capabilities. Infantry coordination and logistics management require skills that do not depend on enhanced reflexes. Maya appreciated the diplomatic way Zix offered alternatives to direct combat roles. Thank you, Commander. Human forces have found value in many different tactical approaches. Lieutenant Vera 9 drifted over to join the conversation, her crystalline form pulsing with analytical patterns. Mathematical models predict that human performance will decline further as environmental complexity increases, she stated matter-of-factly. Phases 3 through 5 introduce variables that exceed unenhanced biological processing. Maya looked up at the towering crystal being and smiled slightly. Predictions can be interesting, but actual performance sometimes surprises people. Corvin overheard the conversation and moved closer with his massive stride. Lieutenant Rodriguez, with respect, surprise requires capabilities that previous performance has not demonstrated. Vorthak military assessment suggests that human forces might serve the Alliance better in non-combat capacities. The other alien representatives had begun to gather around the conversation, creating a circle of towering forms around Maya's much smaller human frame. She could sense their collective assessment that human participation in advanced military operations was questionable at best. Phase 3 will introduce environmental obstacles and interference, Maya announced as the break period ended. Each participant will engage stationary targets at 1,000 meters through atmospheric distortion, electromagnetic interference, and physical barriers. The aliens returned to their positions with continued confidence, Maya walked back to Station 7 and checked her rifle settings again, making small adjustments that appeared to be attempts to compensate for her poor performance. She could feel the attention of the alien representatives, most of whom seemed to view the remaining phases as a formality rather than a genuine competition. The electrical storm environment of Gamma Hydrae created the most challenging conditions yet seen in the evaluation. Lightning crashed across the dark sky while electromagnetic pulses sent waves of interference through all electronic systems. Physical barriers made of twisted metal and crystalline formations created a complex maze between the firing line and targets, positioned 1,000 meters away. Maya watched as Commander Zix stepped forward to begin Phase 3. The Zephyrian warrior's compound eyes immediately began processing the multiple obstacles and interference patterns. His forearms moved in coordination, with secondary arms operating specialized sensors designed to penetrate electromagnetic distortion while primary arms controlled his weapon systems. The first shot required Zix to calculate a trajectory that would pass through 3 separate openings in the barrier maze, while compensating for atmospheric interference. His compound eyes tracked the optimal path while his targeting computers adjusted for electromagnetic distortion. The plasma bolt curved through the obstacles with insect precision, striking the distant target dead center. Zix completed all 5 shots in 57 seconds, achieving 96% accuracy despite the complex environmental conditions. His natural ability to process multiple visual inputs simultaneously allowed him to track targets through interference that would blind most species. Lieutenant Vera 9 approached next, her crystalline body now pulsing with much more complex calculation patterns. The helix being had to process atmospheric density variations, electromagnetic field fluctuations, and obstacle positioning simultaneously. Her mathematical approach turned the chaotic environment into a series of equations, with precise solutions. Her shots followed calculated trajectories that seemed impossible to achieve through normal targeting methods. Each plasma bolt curved around obstacles and through interference zones with mathematical perfection, striking targets that were barely visible through the atmospheric distortion. Vera 9 achieved perfect accuracy in 63 seconds. These other alien representatives continued their demonstrations, each species showcasing how their natural advantages allowed them to overcome the challenging conditions. The nebular entity manipulated local atmospheric pressure to create clear shooting lanes through the storm. The Catalan used enhanced senses to detect targets that were completely invisible to normal vision. When Corvin stepped forward, his massive frame seemed to dominate the hostile environment. The Vorthak warrior's predatory instincts had evolved to hunt in conditions far worse than the simulated storm. His bio-integrated targeting system interfaced directly with his nervous system, creating targeting solutions faster than conscious thought. Corvin's first shot penetrated through electromagnetic interference and physical obstacles, as if they were not present. His yellow eyes locked onto targets that other species struggled to detect, while his integrated weapon systems compensated for environmental variables automatically. Each shot demonstrated why Vorthak warriors had dominated Alliance military operations for 3 centuries. The massive alien completed the sequence in 49 seconds with perfect accuracy, setting another new record for the evaluation. His final shot was particularly impressive, striking a target that was completely obscured by interference, while simultaneously hidden behind multiple physical barriers. Exceptional shooting, Sergeant Thrix, Maya acknowledged. Vorthak capabilities continue to exceed standard parameters. Corvin nodded with satisfaction before turning to address the assembled representatives. Environmental challenges simply provide more interesting hunting conditions, he stated with obvious confidence. Vorthak warriors adapt to any conditions that prey might use for concealment. The remaining alien species completed their demonstrations, with results that maintained their reputations for military excellence. Even under the most challenging conditions, accuracy rates remained above 80%, with completion times that demonstrated their ability to overcome environmental obstacles through natural advantages. Maya stepped up to the firing line, as Phase 3 concluded for the other participants. The storm environment continued to rage around the testing facility, with lightning and electromagnetic interference creating chaos that would challenge any marksman. She raised her M2070 rifle, and looked through the scope toward targets that were barely visible at 1,000 meters. Her first shot went wide, missing the target completely as electromagnetic interference disrupted her targeting systems. The plasma bolt struck a barrier wall several meters away from the intended target. Maya adjusted her scope settings and tried again, achieving a marginal hit on the edge of the scoring zone. Corvin's rumbling laughter carried across the range as he observed Maya's struggles with the environmental conditions. The human demonstrates why unenhanced biology cannot compete with evolved predator capabilities, he announced loudly enough for all participants to hear. Environmental challenges require adaptations that baseline species simply do not possess. Maya's third shot missed entirely as atmospheric interference created false targeting data. Her fourth shot achieved a basic hit outside the precision zone, while her fifth shot struck the target backing rather than the scoring area. The display registered 28% accuracy with a completion time that exceeded the maximum allowable limit. Perhaps human forces should reconsider their participation in advanced alliance operations, Corvin continued with condescending concern. These evaluation standards represent minimum combat requirements, not exceptional performance levels. Helix representative pulsed with calculation patterns that indicated analytical satisfaction. Mathematical projections prove accurate, Vera 9 stated in her precise electronic voice. Human performance declines exponentially as environmental complexity increases. Commander Zix clicked his mandibles in the Zephyrian equivalent of sympathetic understanding. Human instructor, perhaps your species would serve the Alliance better in support roles that do not require direct combat capabilities. Maya lowered her rifle and nodded politely. Thank you for the assessment, Commander. Human tactical doctrine emphasizes different approaches to environmental challenges. The alien representatives exchanged glances that clearly indicated their collective conclusion about human military value. Maya could see them making mental notes about Alliance force structure and the questionable wisdom of including humans in advanced military operations. During the break between phases, the conversation among alien species became more animated as they discussed implications for future Alliance missions. Maya overheard fragments of their discussions in various languages, most of which focused on reassigning human forces to non-combat roles. The nebular entity approached Maya with what passed for concern in his species. Human instructor, nebular. Military philosophy includes atmospheric support roles that might better utilize your capabilities. Environmental manipulation and logistics coordination require skills that do not depend on enhanced targeting abilities. Maya appreciated the diplomatic suggestion. Thank you for considering alternative applications for human forces. Corvin joined the conversation with his characteristic confidence. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Vorthak assessment indicates that human participation in phases 4 and 5 would be inadvisable. The conditions will exceed anything we have seen today, and failure could impact Alliance evaluation standards. The massive alien suggestion was clearly intended as helpful advice. From a superior warrior to an outmatched opponent, Maya could see genuine concern in his yellow eyes, mixed with the predatory satisfaction of a hunter who had proven his dominance. I appreciate your concern, Sergeant Thrix, Maya replied calmly. However, Alliance protocols require all participants to complete the full evaluation sequence. Corvin's expression shifted to what Maya recognized as Vorthak puzzlement. Human determination is admirable, but continued failure serves no tactical purpose. Perhaps discretion would better serve your species' reputation. Lieutenant Vera 9 drifted closer, her crystalline form now pulsing with patterns that indicated complex analysis. Mathematical models predict catastrophic performance degradation in phases 4 and 5, she stated with mathematical certainty. Environmental variables will exceed human processing capabilities by orders of magnitude. Maya looked up at the towering alien beings surrounding her and maintained her composed expression. Predictions are interesting, but actual performance provides more reliable data. The alien representatives made various sounds that indicated amusement at Maya's persistence. From their perspective, human stubbornness was leading toward embarrassing failure that would only reinforce their assessment of human limitations. Phase 4 will introduce moving targets in adverse weather conditions, Maya announced as the break period ended. Participants will engage targets that move unpredictably through electromagnetic storms, atmospheric distortion, and physical obstacles at varying ranges up to 1,200 meters. The aliens returned to their positions with continued confidence, their natural advantages having proven sufficient to overcome every challenge presented so far. Maya walked back to Station 7 and began making adjustments to her rifle that appeared to be desperate attempts to compensate for her declining performance. The holographic environment transformed into a nightmare of atmospheric chaos that challenged even the most advanced targeting systems. Hurricane-force winds howled across a landscape torn by electromagnetic storms, while plasma lightning created interference patterns that shifted constantly. Moving targets appeared throughout the devastation, following erratic paths through debris fields and energy discharges at ranges that extended beyond normal visibility. Maya observed as Commander Zik stepped forward to face the most challenging phase yet presented. The Zephyrian warrior's compound eyes immediately began tracking multiple targets simultaneously, while his 4 arms worked to compensate for the extreme environmental conditions. His natural advantages were tested to their limits as electromagnetic interference disrupted even his enhanced sensory capabilities. Zix's first shot required him to track a target moving through a debris field while compensating for wind speeds that exceeded 100 kilometers per hour. His compound eyes locked onto the target's movement pattern, while his targeting computers calculated trajectories through the chaotic environment. The shot struck close to center mass, achieving a solid hit, despite the impossible conditions. The Zephyrian warrior managed to engage 4 of his 5 targets before the time limit expired, achieving 76% accuracy under conditions that would have been impossible for most species. His performance demonstrated why the Zephyrians remained valuable alliance members, but also showed that even natural advantages had their limits. Lieutenant Vera 9 approached the firing line with calculation patterns flowing across her crystalline body in complex spirals. The Helix being's mathematical approach faced its greatest challenge as environmental variables exceeded her ability to process all factors simultaneously. Atmospheric chaos created equations with too many unknowns for even her enhanced computational abilities. Her first shot followed a calculated trajectory that should have intercepted a moving target, but electromagnetic interference altered the plasma bolt's path in ways that mathematical models could not predict. Her second shot achieved a marginal hit after compensating for the first shot's deviation, but her remaining attempts struggled against environmental chaos that defied mathematical analysis. Vera 9 completed the sequence with 68% accuracy, a significant decline from her usual perfect performance. The crystalline being's form pulsed with what Maya recognized as analytical frustration at encountering variables that exceeded computational solutions. The other alien representatives faced similar challenges as the extreme conditions tested their natural advantages to the breaking point. The nebular entity struggled to manipulate atmospheric conditions that were too chaotic for even gaseous beings to control effectively. The Catalan's enhanced reflexes were overwhelmed by targets that moved unpredictably through interference patterns. When Corvin stepped forward, his massive frame seemed to embrace the hostile environment rather than fight against it. The Vorthak warrior's predatory instincts had evolved to hunt in conditions that would kill most species, and his bio-integrated targeting system was designed to function in environments where technology failed. Corvin's yellow eyes locked onto the first target with predatory focus that cut through electromagnetic interference and atmospheric chaos. His integrated weapon system responded to neural commands that bypassed electronic targeting, relying instead on instincts refined through millions of years of evolution. His first shot struck a target that was moving erratically through a plasma storm, while partially concealed by debris. The accuracy was impressive, but not perfect, as even Vorthak capabilities were challenged by the extreme conditions. His second shot achieved a solid hit on a target that appeared and disappeared through electromagnetic pulses. Corvin managed to engage all 5 targets but achieved only 84% accuracy, his lowest score in any recorded Alliance evaluation. The massive alien's performance remained superior to most species, but demonstrated that even legendary Vorthak marksmanship had its limits. Challenging conditions, Sergeant Thrix, Maya acknowledged as Corvin completed his sequence. These scenarios push even the most advanced capabilities. Corvin nodded with grudging respect for the environmental chaos. Extreme conditions require extreme adaptations, he stated. Even Vorthak warriors must acknowledge when prey achieves tactical advantages through environmental manipulation. The remaining alien representatives completed their attempts with results that showed universal performance degradation. Species that had achieved perfect scores in earlier phases now struggled to maintain accuracy rates above 60%. The environmental chaos had reached levels that challenged every natural advantage and technological system. Maya stepped up to the firing line as the attention of all 12 species focused on her expected failure. The storm environment raged around the testing facility with violence that seemed designed to make accurate shooting impossible. Lightning crashed constantly while electromagnetic pulses disrupted all electronic systems. She raised her M2070 rifle and looked through the scope toward targets that were barely visible through the atmospheric chaos. The alien representatives watched with a mixture of professional curiosity and sympathetic concern, expecting to witness a complete breakdown of human marksmanship capabilities. Maya's first shot seemed to vanish into the storm without effect. No impact registered on any target or barrier, as if the plasma bolt had been absorbed by the electromagnetic chaos. The alien representatives exchanged glances that indicated their expectations were being confirmed. Corvin's voice carried across the range despite the howling wind. Lieutenant Rodriguez, perhaps continuing under these conditions would be inadvisable. Human safety protocols should take precedence over evaluation completion. Maya adjusted her stance and tracked toward the second target without responding to Corvin's suggestion. Her second shot also disappeared into the storm without any visible impact. The display registered 2 complete misses as electromagnetic interference made target acquisition nearly impossible for unenhanced vision. The human demonstrates the absolute limits of baseline biology, Corvin announced to his aide in standard that everyone could hear. Environmental conditions have exceeded the threshold where natural capabilities become irrelevant. The Helix representative pulsed with calculation patterns that Maya recognized as mathematical confirmation. Human performance degradation follows predictable curves, Vera 9 stated with analytical satisfaction. Current conditions exceed processing capabilities by several orders of magnitude. Maya tracked to the third target, a drone that moved erratically through a debris field while electromagnetic pulses created false images throughout her scope. She controlled her breathing and centered herself in ways that had nothing to do with the rifle in her hands. Years of training and techniques that no alien species had ever imagined prepared her for this moment. Her third shot pierced through the electromagnetic chaos with precision that defied explanation. The plasma bolt curved around 3 separate obstacles while compensating for wind speeds that changed direction every few seconds. It struck the moving target dead center while the drone was hidden behind a barrier, requiring her to predict its position through pure tactical analysis. The target flashed bright blue, indicating a perfect hit that exceeded normal scoring parameters. The range's targeting computers registered the shot as exceptional accuracy before immediately requesting system diagnostics to confirm the equipment was functioning properly. The alien representatives fell silent as they processed what they had witnessed. Maya's shot had achieved accuracy that exceeded even Corvin's capabilities under conditions that had challenged every species present. The storm continued to rage around them, but attention focused entirely on the human marksman at Station 7. Maya tracked to the fourth target without pause or apparent concern about the impossible conditions. Her shot followed a trajectory that seemed to violate physics as it curved through electromagnetic interference and atmospheric chaos. The plasma bolt struck a target that was moving in a complex spiral pattern, while partially concealed by energy discharges. Another perfect hit registered on the display, followed by system alerts that indicated the range computers were struggling to analyze shooting that exceeded their programmed parameters. The alien representatives watched in stunned silence as Maya prepared for her 5th and final shot. Corvin's massive frame had gone completely still as he observed performance that challenged everything he thought he knew about baseline biology. His yellow eyes tracked Maya's movements with the focus of a predator encountering something entirely outside his experience. Maya centered the fifth target in her scope, a drone that moved through conditions that should have made accurate shooting impossible for any known species. She took a deep breath and prepared to fire the shot that would change everything the alien representatives believed about human capabilities. Maya centered the fifth target in her scope, while the storm raged around the testing facility with unprecedented violence. The drone moved through electromagnetic chaos that created false images and sensor ghosts throughout the targeting system. Wind speeds exceeded 150 kilometers per hour, while plasma lightning created interference patterns that shifted every few seconds. She controlled her breathing and entered the focused state that human military doctrine called tactical clarity. Years of training and techniques that combined physics, psychology, and pure determination prepared her for shots that appeared impossible to every alien species present. The rifle in her hands became an extension of her will rather than a mechanical tool. Her fifth shot fired into the chaos with precision that defied every law of physics the alien representatives understood. The plasma bolt curved through 3 different electromagnetic fields while compensating for atmospheric pressure variations that changed constantly. It struck the moving target at the exact moment it emerged from behind a debris barrier, requiring prediction capabilities that exceeded computer analysis. The target flashed bright blue as the display registered another perfect hit. The range's targeting computers immediately began emergency diagnostics, unable to process shooting that exceeded every parameter in their databases. Alert signals indicated that the evaluation systems were requesting confirmation that the equipment had not malfunctioned. Commander Zix's compound eyes focused on Maya with intensity that indicated complete confusion. The Zephyrian warrior's natural advantages should have made him superior to any human marksman, but he had just witnessed shooting that exceeded his own capabilities by orders of magnitude. Lieutenant Vera 9's crystalline form pulsed with calculation, patterns that Maya recognized as mathematical overload. The Helix being was attempting to process shooting that violated every ballistic equation in her databases, creating computational conflicts that her enhanced mind could not resolve. The nebular entity's containment suit registered atmospheric disturbances that indicated extreme agitation. The gaseous being had manipulated environmental conditions for centuries, but had just observed someone achieve perfect accuracy through chaos that should have made shooting impossible. Corvin Thrix stood in complete silence as his predatory mind struggled to process what he had witnessed. The massive Vorthak warrior had dominated Alliance marksmanship evaluations for 3 centuries, relying on biological advantages that no other species could match. Maya's performance challenged everything he believed about the hierarchy of galactic military power. System diagnostics indicate all equipment functioning within normal parameters, Maya announced as she lowered her rifle. Phase 4 results show 98% accuracy with completion time of 37 seconds. The alien representatives remained silent as they processed implications that extended far beyond simple marksmanship evaluation. Maya had achieved shooting that exceeded the capabilities of every enhanced species present, using standard equipment under conditions that had challenged their most advanced biological and technological systems. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Commander Zix finally spoke, his electronic translation system struggling with concepts that had no equivalent in Zephyrian language. Your performance parameters exceed theoretical maximums for unenhanced biology. Please explain the techniques that enabled such accuracy. Maya checked her rifle settings with the same methodical precision she had displayed throughout the evaluation. Human marksmanship doctrine emphasizes adaptability and determination, rather than relying on natural advantages. We focus on exceeding limitations rather than accepting them. Vera 9's form pulsed with calculation patterns that indicated desperate attempts to understand shooting that violated mathematical models. Human capabilities demonstrate performance curves that exceed all known biological parameters. Mathematical analysis requests additional data for computational integration. The crystalline being's confusion was understandable, Maya realized. Species that relied on natural advantages and technological integration struggled to comprehend techniques that combined multiple disciplines into approaches that transcended individual limitations. Corvin approached Maya's position with the careful movements of a predator that had encountered something completely outside his experience. His massive frame cast a shadow over her much smaller human form, but his earlier confident dominance had been replaced by cautious respect. "Human instructor," Corvin said in a voice that had lost its condescending tone. "Vorthak military doctrine includes no techniques that could achieve the accuracy you have demonstrated. Our biological advantages appear insufficient compared to your methods." Maya looked up at the towering alien warrior and maintained her composed expression. "Different species develop different approaches to tactical challenges. Vorthak hunting. Instincts are remarkable, but humans have learned to combine instinct with analysis in ways that can exceed natural limitations." The other alien representatives gathered around Maya's position, their earlier dismissive attitudes replaced by intense curiosity about capabilities they had never imagined possible. The hierarchy that had defined their interactions throughout. The evaluation had been completely overturned by performance that challenged every assumption about baseline biology. "Phase 5 will test maximum stress conditions," Maya announced as she prepared the final evaluation sequence. "Participants will engage targets under the most challenging conditions possible at ranges up to 1,200 meters." The alien representatives exchanged glances that indicated profound uncertainty about what they would witness next. Maya's performance had already exceeded their understanding of what was possible without biological enhancement or technological integration. The final phase would either confirm their revised assessment of human capabilities or demonstrate something even more extraordinary. The holographic environment began its transformation into conditions that pushed beyond the limits of normal military operations. Electromagnetic storms intensified while gravitational anomalies created distortion fields that affected projectile trajectories in unpredictable ways. Quantum interference patterns made targeting systems unreliable, while atmospheric chaos created an environment that challenged every known form of marksmanship. Commander Zix observed the developing conditions with compound eyes that registered concern for the first time in the evaluation. "Environmental parameters exceed safe operational limits," he stated in electronic tones that indicated Zephyrian anxiety. "Continued evaluation may pose risks to personnel and equipment." Maya studied the chaotic environment through her scope and made final adjustments to her rifle settings. Alliance protocols require completion of all evaluation phases unless safety concerns mandate termination. Current conditions remain within acceptable parameters for continued testing. Corvin's yellow eyes tracked the environmental chaos with predatory assessment that indicated deep concern. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, these conditions exceed anything encountered in actual combat operations. Vorthak warriors have never attempted marksmanship under such extreme circumstances." The massive, alien statement carried implications that extended beyond simple safety concerns. If conditions exceeded what Vorthak warriors considered survivable, then continuing the evaluation would require capabilities that no known species possessed. Maya centered herself in preparation for the final phase, drawing on training and techniques that represented the culmination of human military evolution. The alien representatives watched with mixture of fascination and apprehension, knowing they were about to witness something that would redefine their understanding of what was possible in galactic warfare. The storm reached maximum intensity, as targeting became a matter of predicting chaos rather than tracking visible targets. Maya prepared to demonstrate the ultimate expression of human marksmanship doctrine, shooting that would establish new standards for Alliance military operations and change the balance of power among galactic species forever. The holographic environment reached maximum chaos as Phase 5 initialized with conditions that exceeded every safety parameter in Alliance military protocols. Gravitational anomalies created distortion fields that bent light and altered projectile trajectories in ways that made traditional targeting impossible. Quantum interference patterns disrupted all electronic systems, while electromagnetic storms generated energy discharges that could destroy equipment and personnel. Maya watched as the alien representatives attempted to engage targets that appeared and disappeared through reality distortions at ranges that stretched beyond normal visibility. The environmental chaos had reached levels that challenged the fundamental principles of marksmanship, requiring capabilities that no known species possessed. Commander Zix stepped forward first, his compound eyes immediately overwhelmed by interference, patterns that created false images throughout his visual spectrum. The Zephyrian warrior's natural advantages became liabilities as enhanced senses provided too much conflicting information for his nervous system to process effectively. His first shot fired into chaos that made target acquisition purely theoretical. The plasma bolt curved through gravitational distortions before disappearing into quantum interference that prevented impact assessment. Zix managed only 2 shots before his targeting systems completely failed, under conditions that exceeded Zephyrian biological and technological limits. Lieutenant Vera 9 approached with calculation patterns flowing across her crystalline form, in chaotic spirals that indicated mathematical overload. The Helix being's computational abilities encountered variables that created infinite regression loops, making predictive targeting impossible through mathematical analysis. Her shots followed, trajectories that should have been mathematically perfect but were altered by quantum effects that operated outside normal physics. Vera 9 achieved one marginal hit before her crystalline structure began resonating with interference patterns that threatened to shatter her molecular cohesion. The other alien representatives faced similar failures as environmental conditions exceeded every biological adaptation and technological system they possessed. The nebular entity's gaseous form was dispersed by gravitational anomalies that prevented coherent targeting. The Catalan's enhanced reflexes were overwhelmed by stimuli that operated faster than neural processing. When Corvin approached the firing line, his massive frame seemed diminished by environmental chaos that challenged even Vorthok predatory instincts. His bio-integrated targeting system encountered interference that disrupted the neural connections between his nervous system and weapon interface. Corvin's yellow eyes attempted to lock onto targets that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, creating overlapping images that confused even predator vision evolved for impossible tracking scenarios. His first shot achieved a near miss despite conditions that should have made accuracy impossible, demonstrating why Vorthok warriors had dominated galactic military operations. His second shot struck a target that was partially phased between dimensional states, achieving a hit that registered as both successful and missed depending on quantum observation parameters. Corvin managed 3 shots before his integrated systems began suffering permanent damage from interference levels that exceeded safe operational limits. Environmental conditions exceed all known safety parameters, Corvin announced as he stepped back from the firing line. Continued evaluation poses unacceptable risks to personnel and equipment integrity. Maya observed the alien representative's struggles with conditions that pushed beyond the boundaries of normal military operations. Every species had encountered limitations that their natural advantages and technological systems could not overcome. The evaluation had reached levels that challenged the fundamental concepts of marksmanship. Alliance protocols permit individual withdrawal from evaluation phases that exceed species capabilities, Maya announced. All participants have demonstrated exceptional performance under extreme conditions. The alien representatives exchanged communications in their native languages, discussing whether continued evaluation served any tactical purpose. The environmental chaos had reached levels that made shooting more theoretical than practical, creating conditions that no military operation would deliberately encounter. Commander Zix spoke for the group through his electronic translation system. Human instructor, current conditions exceed parameters for meaningful marksmanship evaluation. Zephyrian assessment recommends termination of Phase 5 for safety considerations. Maya nodded with understanding while checking her rifle settings. One final time. Your concerns are noted and recorded. However, human evaluation protocols require completion of all assigned phases unless equipment failure mandates termination. Corvin's massive form moved closer with obvious concern for Maya's safety. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Vorthok assessment indicates these conditions pose lethal risks to unenhanced biology. Human participation under current parameters would constitute negligent endangerment. The towering alien statement carried genuine worry for Maya's welfare, representing a complete change from his earlier dismissive attitude. Corvin had witnessed enough of Maya's capabilities to know she might attempt shooting that could result in serious injury or death. Maya stepped up to the firing line as gravitational anomalies created distortion effects that made the air itself seem to bend and twist. Quantum interference patterns generated false images throughout her scope, while electromagnetic discharges threatened to overload her rifle's targeting systems. She raised her M2070 rifle and looked toward targets that existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, appearing and disappearing according to quantum probability rather than physical movement. The shooting required would operate beyond marksmanship into realms that approached theoretical physics. Maya's first shot fired into chaos that exceeded every definition of impossible conditions. The plasma bolt traveled through gravitational distortions that altered its trajectory, while quantum effects created probability clouds around its path. The shot struck a target that was simultaneously present and absent, achieving a hit that the range computers registered as quantum accuracy. The alien representatives watched in stunned silence as targeting systems attempted to process shooting that violated fundamental laws of physics. Maya had achieved accuracy under conditions that exceeded the capabilities of every enhanced species present, using techniques that appeared to manipulate reality itself. Her second shot followed immediately, striking a target that existed in multiple quantum states through interference patterns that should have made targeting impossible. The plasma bolt curved through dimensional distortions while compensating for gravitational effects that altered space-time around the projectile's path. Commander Zix's compound eyes focused on Maya with intensity that indicated complete paradigm revision. Human marksmanship demonstrates capabilities that exceed theoretical maximums for any known species. He transmitted through electronic systems that struggled with concepts beyond Zephyrian understanding. Maya's third shot pierced through quantum interference that created probability fields around the target's location. The plasma bolt struck at the exact moment when quantum collapse made the target fully present in normal space-time, requiring prediction of probability mathematics that exceeded computer analysis. Lieutenant Vera 9's crystalline form pulsed, with calculation patterns that indicated mathematical breakdown. The Helix being was encountering shooting that operated outside known physics, creating computational paradoxes that threatened her enhanced mathematical consciousness. Maya prepared for her fourth shot as environmental chaos reached maximum intensity. Gravitational anomalies created space-time distortions, while quantum effects generated interference patterns that challenged the basic concepts of targeting and accuracy. The shot would require capabilities that transcended normal marksmanship into realms that approached manipulation of fundamental forces. The alien representatives realized they were witnessing something that would redefine their understanding of what was possible in galactic military operations. Maya's performance had exceeded every biological and technological limit they thought existed, demonstrating capabilities that challenged their fundamental assumptions about the hierarchy of species capabilities. Maya prepared for her fourth shot as the environmental chaos reached levels that challenged the basic laws of physics. Gravitational anomalies created space-time distortions that bent light into impossible angles, while quantum interference generated probability fields that made targets exist in multiple states simultaneously. The shot would require understanding of forces that operated beyond normal marksmanship. She centered herself using techniques that combined human determination with deep understanding of physics principles that most species considered purely theoretical. The rifle in her hands became a tool for manipulating fundamental forces rather than simply projecting plasma bolts through space. Her fourth shot fired into chaos that exceeded every definition of impossible conditions. The plasma bolt traveled through gravitational wells that altered space-time around its trajectory, while quantum effects created probability clouds that changed the target's location according to mathematical principles rather than physical movement. The shot struck a target that was simultaneously present in 17 different quantum states, hitting it at the precise moment when probability collapse made it fully manifest in normal space-time. The range computers registered the hit as reality manipulation before immediately requesting emergency diagnostics to confirm the universe was still functioning properly. Commander Zix's compound eyes had stopped functioning normally as his nervous system struggled to process observations that violated every principle of Zephyrian physics. Human capabilities demonstrate mastery of forces that exceed known scientific understanding. He transmitted through systems that were barely maintaining coherence. Maya tracked to her fifth and final target, a quantum sensor array that existed primarily in probability mathematics rather than physical space. The target appeared and disappeared according to equations that described the fundamental structure of reality, requiring shooting that would operate beyond marksmanship into manipulation of quantum mechanics itself. She took a deep breath and entered a state of tactical clarity that represented the ultimate expression of human military doctrine. Years of training that combined determination, physics, psychology, and pure refusal to accept limitations prepared her for the shot that would redefine galactic military capabilities. Her fifth shot fired into quantum chaos with precision that challenged the fundamental laws of the universe. The plasma bolt traveled through dimensional distortions while manipulating probability fields to ensure target intersection at the exact moment of quantum manifestation. The shot struck the sensor array's quantum core, destroying it while leaving surrounding probability structures intact. The range computers registered the shot as theoretically impossible before updating their assessment to human standard and requesting immediate recalibration of all evaluation parameters. Alert systems indicated that the fundamental assumptions underlying Alliance marksmanship testing had been invalidated. The alien representatives stood in complete silence as they processed performance that exceeded every biological and technological limit they thought possible. Maya had achieved shooting that operated beyond normal physics, demonstrating capabilities that challenged their understanding of what any species could accomplish. Lieutenant Vera 9's crystalline form pulsed with calculation patterns that indicated complete mathematical breakdown. Human performance demonstrates mastery of quantum mechanics that exceeds Helix computational abilities, she stated in electronic tones that registered system overload. Mathematical models require complete reconstruction. Corvin Thrix approached Maya's position with movements that indicated profound paradigm revision. The massive Vorthak warrior's predatory confidence had been replaced by respect that bordered on awe for capabilities that exceeded everything his species had achieved in 3 centuries of military dominance. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Corvin said, in a voice that had lost all traces of condescension. Vorthak military assessment requires complete revision of human capabilities. Your marksmanship demonstrates mastery that exceeds our understanding of what is possible through biological evolution. Maya lowered her rifle and checked the settings with the same methodical precision she had displayed throughout the evaluation. Human military doctrine emphasizes transcending limitations rather than accepting them. We focus on combining multiple disciplines to achieve results that exceed individual capabilities. She walked to the center of the testing facility as the holographic environment returned to normal conditions. The alien representatives gathered around her with obvious fascination for techniques they had never imagined possible. Human marksmanship training combines physics, psychology, biology, and tactical analysis, Maya explained as she began her after-action briefing. We use determination and analytical thinking to compensate for natural disadvantages, creating approaches that can exceed theoretical limitations. Commander Zix's electronic translation system struggled with concepts that had no equivalent in Zephyrian military doctrine. Human techniques demonstrate capabilities that exceed natural evolution. Zephyrian assessment requests training exchange to understand methods that transcend biological constraints. Maya nodded with approval. Human forces would benefit from learning Zephyrian tracking techniques while sharing our approaches to limitation transcendence. Cross-species training exchanges could enhance Alliance military capabilities significantly. Lieutenant Vera 9's form pulsed with calculation patterns that indicated intense curiosity about human methods. Helix mathematical analysis requires integration of human determination variables into computational models. Traditional equations appear insufficient for processing human capabilities. The crystalline being's request represented a fundamental shift in how mathematical species approached military science, acknowledging that some capabilities operated beyond pure computation. Corvin stepped forward with obvious respect for Maya's demonstration. Vorthak military doctrine has become complacent, relying on natural advantages while neglecting innovative development. Human techniques represent approaches that could enhance our capabilities significantly. Maya appreciated the honest assessment from a warrior who had dominated galactic marksmanship for centuries. Alliance strength comes from combining different, species advantages rather than competing between them. Fourth-act hunting instincts combined with human analytical approaches could create unprecedented capabilities. The other alien representatives made requests for training exchanges and technological cooperation as they processed the implications of human marksmanship techniques. Species that had dismissed human military value now recognized capabilities that could enhance their own forces significantly. Final evaluation results show human performance exceeding all established parameters, Maya announced as she completed her data recording. Alliance marksmanship standards require revision to accommodate capabilities that transcend normal biological and technological limits. The alien representatives exchanged communications in their native languages as they discussed how Maya's demonstration would affect Alliance military structure and species relationships. Human forces would clearly play expanded roles in future operations, not despite their apparent limitations, but because of how they transcended them. Maya began preparing her report for Alliance Command as the evaluation concluded. The document would recommend increased integration between human and alien military forces while maintaining the tactical advantages that human techniques provided. Her demonstration had proven that determination and innovative thinking could exceed natural advantages when properly applied. Human military philosophy emphasizes that limitations exist to be overcome rather than accepted, Maya stated in her closing remarks. Alliance forces become stronger when we combine different approaches rather than relying on individual advantages alone. Corvin approached her privately as the other representatives departed. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Vorthak Command requests immediate consultation on integrating human techniques into our training programs. Your demonstration has shown us capabilities we never imagined possible. Maya smiled as she secured her rifle. I'll be happy to arrange exchanges between our forces, Sergeant Thrix. Alliance strength comes from species working together rather than competing for dominance. The massive alien nodded with respect. That represented a complete transformation from his earlier dismissive attitude. Maya's performance had not only demonstrated human capabilities, but had created opportunities for cooperation that would strengthen the entire Alliance military structure. As the evaluation facility returned to standby mode, Maya reflected on how the demonstration had exceeded her original objectives. The alien representatives would return to their homeworlds with new understanding of human capabilities and requests for training partnerships that would enhance Alliance military effectiveness across all species. The sergeant who had mocked her, Miss, had gone silent as she hit the bullseye 5 times in a row, but more importantly, had learned that human determination could exceed any natural advantage when properly applied.